Hi, and we're back on the warptest.com page, and today we're going to talk about how many of my predictions we got right for Microsoft Build, and what else we got from the conference as they enter their third and final day. So, keynote, 3.5 hours, a big keynote, lots in there. They kicked off with obviously the CEO, Satya Nadella, doing the keynote as predicted, introducing different demos. He spoke about guiding principles of his vision for Microsoft, privacy, cybersecurity, and ethical AI, the three guiding principles. He also discussed that the world is becoming a computer, that basically computing is embedded everywhere. But with that comes two important facets, opportunity and responsibility, carrying on from his keynote last year. He spoke about a shift to intelligent cloud and intelligent edge, the app model being distributed and serverless. So, practically, what did we see? Azure, as mentioned, but specifically open source Azure Internet of Things Edge for Linux and Windows. Now, before we go any further, let's discuss open source. Who do you think is the biggest open source developer in the world today or ever? Yeah, you guessed it, it's Microsoft. That's right. Microsoft does more for open source than anybody else out there. With that change over the last couple of years, Microsoft announced, at the same time as discussing Azure Internet of Things Edge, two big partnerships. Number one, a partnership with Qualcomm. Qualcomm have developed a SDK and home and commercial camera kit. That's number one, which can be placed in pretty much any location, and you can develop all sorts of apps to use it. If you saw Build last year, then you know all about the industrial safety and hospital patient monitoring apps they showed, where Azure was used to build on Microsoft cognitive services for facial recognition, object recognition. This camera has been built expressly for this purpose. Better than that is a partnership with DJI, the big-time drone developer and builder, where together they and Microsoft are delivering a Windows 10 SDK for commercial drones. That's right. If you have a DJI drone, whether it's commercial or personal use, let's call it, then you can develop apps for that to run on Windows 10. That's right. You can get your data off the drone, you can get flight plans with the drone, and again, you can use Microsoft Cognitive Services within that app. They did a demo, having a commercial licensed drone operator from DJI Build, flying a drone inside, and then running a UWP app on a laptop on stage, and using it to detect anomalies in an industrial scenario. Pretty cool stuff. What else did they speak about? They mentioned, of course, hat tip to DevOps, that anything like that could be deployed through containers. So if you've got 1, 10, 100 or more cameras or drones, you can click and deploy, and it's right on there. Now then, what else did they talk about? We mentioned Azure Cognitive Services, facial recognition, speech recognition, translation, object recognition, all sorts of cool stuff that we talk about. They gave an example of a partnership with Huawei. If you have a Huawei phone or handset, then the likelihood is that you have their translation apps running, and those translation apps are Azure AI enabled. More edge devices. They spoke about a speech device, an SDK for that with an embeddable speaker for building other devices. A lot of what we heard at the Build is about providing OEM devices in partnership with Microsoft with SDKs so that you can go out there and build cool stuff. We all thought Kinect was dead, that it had gone the way of various other things like the Dodo and the dinosaur. Nope. Microsoft announced Project Kinect for Azure. Spatial understanding, object recognition, and ultra-wide field of view. These sensor packages are going to be available for consumer and industrial products, meaning you can take a Kinect sensor, use Project Kinect and build your own stuff for it. Conversational AI and bots. Microsoft announced 100 plus new features for the bot framework, 16 plus channels for conversational interface, can show up with a click. They're talking about interacting with Cortana, Skype, Teams, Facebook, and much, much more. So it's not just building bots, it's building bots that you can take the conversation from one platform to another easily. Satya Nadella went on to talk about Microsoft 365, the holistic vision of Windows and Office working together. He gave an example of the Windows shell, Cortana, bot framework, and more. And then there was an incredible demo of Cortana and Amazon Alexa working and interacting together, interacting between their skills. And all of this is being built on the Microsoft Graph. Microsoft Graph is going to allow you to get data of the digital domain and exploit that data responsibly, obviously. Microsoft being Microsoft, they talked a lot about how people should be doing this, and derive actionable intelligence from this data and use it in your apps. They went on to talk about something which is really big. They spoke about mixed reality, and they gave a demo with Microsoft HoloLens. No HoloLens 2, but what they have done is released new apps for HoloLens, Remote Assist, and Microsoft Layout. Two apps that are very cool. And for the people that said to me, HoloLens isn't going anywhere, well, you just have to watch these demos and see the kind of companies that are doing really cool things with HoloLens to understand that's not true. And yeah, I'm going to say it, I told you so. In addition, Microsoft are going out of the digital domain with Graph, and they're going to start interacting with the real world using Graph to derive spatial analytics. Layout is going to be a mixed reality tool. So imagine you have factory floor and you want to place on the factory floor machines, other things, and just see how the layout looks. You can do that in mixed reality through HoloLens. And Remote Assist is exactly what it says it is. Instead of being a field engineer that has to go out to different sites, the field engineer can get on their HoloLens, see what's going on in the factory, and as tier 1 support, try and resolve the problem instead. Imagine if your tier 1 support normally comes from another country, then instead of them flying into your factory or business to give support, they're only a click away. That's pretty big. The next big demo they did was Microsoft Teams centric. Meetings. Everybody knows meetings are a suckfest as they are, but Microsoft did an incredible demo built around Cortana, built around Microsoft Teams, where they have people on site in the meeting room with Surface Hub. They had the AI in the background translating and transcribing, detecting the faces of the different attendees, scheduling meetings, detecting available rooms, and more and more. Then they went full on superpower. I guess I don't know how else to describe it. They were doing a demo of a floor plan, which the engineer showed in HoloLens by sharing to everybody else. And then he did an overlay on the meeting room table in 3D. And the data that was transposed on the 3D floor plan had come from Power BI, which had funneled data from different sensors on site. It was pretty incredible, and you can find all these demos on Microsoft's YouTube channel for Build, and they're all worth looking at. I mean, I saw it live on the live stream, and it was just incredible. The next thing, which was really cool, and as predicted, a follow-on from Project Emma and accessibility for people with disabilities. Satya Nadella spoke about an initiative that Microsoft is launching where startups and developers that want to develop technology for accessibility will get all the help from Microsoft they need to do so. That's if I understood it properly. And then they demoed a slew of apps for people with different special needs, soundscape, eye control, swift key symbols, learning tools, translation, pictograms for visual aids, and Seeing AI for people with ALS, with hearing disabilities, blindness, and a slew of other disabilities. This was almost as big a tearjerker, this demo, as Project Demo, and really you got to see it. Now, developers. You're probably wondering, this is a developer conference, where was all the real development stuff? So they did a big demo day one of something called Visual Studio Live Share. You've got a problem with your code, you want someone else to look at it. Up until now, you'd have to wait for them to get the same Git repo, have a look at it, understand it. Not anymore. With Visual Studio Live Share, you are literally sharing your code in a live share session simply by clicking the share button and sharing a link with them. No cloning repos. They look at, collaborate in real time, debug, inspect, and work with you. This is real pairwise development or working with a tester at the same time. One of the coolest things about this demo during the live share secure connection was allowing the other developer to have access to your local host web app and to be shared over remote. So they don't even need to install that web app at the same time. Very cool feature. Even the terminal session is shared. If you're not a developer, I can't quite explain why this is so relevant, but it's very, very cool. On day 2, we saw some incredible things as well. The phone app for Windows 10, Android and iOS are getting seamless integration with your Windows 10 laptop, desktop, tablet. You're going to be able to access SMS, reply, get access to your photos, and big thing, we've mentioned timeline for the latest Windows update. You're going to have timeline on your iOS and Android. Everything that we've spoken about in the past on Warp Test about Windows on phone as opposed to Windows Phone is happening. This is the direction you're going in. If you have a phone that is iOS or Android, you're going to be able to work with your Windows, carry on working bidirectionally. Either start working on your phone and carry on the task on your laptop or vice versa. Incredible stuff. The app is coming, and pretty much, as we've said in the past, Microsoft is a huge app developer for iOS and Android. They understand that this is very important, not just because of where Windows Phone is, but because they need to get Windows and Microsoft services on these phones. In addition, they spoke about Microsoft Launcher for Enterprise for Android. This is probably the best launcher on the market today for home users. If you haven't tried the Microsoft Launcher, get to the Play Store and install it. It's kick-ass. Other things. There's going to be a Teams UWP app. This is a follow-on from moving OneNote off the desktop onto UWP. How much this is going to impact on other Office apps, we're just going to have to wait and see. Joe Belfiore also demonstrated Windows 10 sets, having tabs not just in your browser but in other apps in the OS. And this is going to be part of Timeline too. This doesn't sound like much, but it's going to be a major change to how you interact with Windows and your laptop and the apps there. And one final thing, adaptive cards in Outlook. Adaptive cards is something new in Microsoft. The demo they gave was paying your bills. You get a bill in your email, you don't need to leave Outlook to pay it. One person mentioned on Twitter this sounds pretty risky. On the other hand, pretty cool. You get a notification about a bill you have to pay, and away you go. And then you're just right back to work. Anyway, like I said, a lot going on. I'm probably going to write up a lot of this and let you know my thoughts on it. I'm impressed with everything I've seen so far. Obviously, minor disappointment, but not unexpected that we're not hearing more about Windows 10 on phone or where they're going with mobility, but hopefully that's something separate that will have its own event for another day. Thanks for tuning in. Come back again. And if you got any comments, feel free to share them.